listening to Tales of the Forsaken, a live play fake board game by Noble Jester Productions.
Am I too caught up in the momentum of this idea of something different for Rillian? Is it clouding my judgment, and am I ignoring the reality that Heartfang might be unbeatable?
So last time, you went and killed a dragon. You had implemented your plan to kind of draw out these dragons, which you ended up killing about a dozen before they essentially wised up and just stopped coming after you in that way. You had heard from Moont that unfortunately Dror had passed away. He had been a part of that plan that you had set in motion, and basically their group of rebels had been ambushed by Heartfang, and he essentially sacrificed himself trying to get some of them away. From that point, Moont and Amp kind of took over the leadership of the rebellion, with Moont really taking a figurehead position, and they've grown you an army, essentially. They've trained up a bunch of people, a bunch of the kin, and your army is pretty large at this point. Amp has trained a pretty decent number of spellcasters. You have about 24 dragons with you. You have a good-sized army, and during all this time, you had been creating weapons, creating kind of fortifications and things in case it's needed. You kind of created this entire citadel, and then you had decided to go and drop the corpse of a dragon on Beacon of Hope. Mm-hmm. So you flew up super high and dropped a dragon corpse and then ran away. Mm-hmm. And I think as you were running away, you kind of heard some large explosions and almost like an earthquake, as Heartfang was clearly very angry.
Yep.
And then you made a plan and took your army and went to go essentially use your army as a distraction, and in hopes of actually defeating Heartfang, but in hopes of drawing as many of the people kind of guarding that portal as possible. Your plan is to open a portal yourself, send Amp and a small kind of hand-picked group through to the portal, have them essentially stop anything from coming through the portal to support Heartfang, because he had been pulling troops and things through this portal. You have no idea what's on the other side. And so that's the plan. I think the last time we ended essentially with you marching out with your army. So why don't you go ahead and remind me who you're sending with Amp. Are you sending any of the kind of named people that you've interacted with so far? Cloud Chaser, any of these people who are kind of in leadership roles, or are you taking them with you or leaving them behind? Like, kind of, what's your plan for leadership and the way that these groups are going to operate?
Gotcha. I think with Amp, I should have someone I can trust a little bit more. So maybe Ochain could go with Amp and kind of record what's going on and just kind of act as my extension there until I hopefully get there. And then I would keep Cloud Chaser and the rest with me. And then probably just check in with Cloud Chaser and figure out who amongst his group he thinks would be the strongest with the most skills to be able to send with Amp.
Okay. So you had said send like 2 or 3 dragons with him?
Yeah, I would say like 3. Probably 3 plus Ochain.
Okay, so 4 dragons, Amp. Anybody else? Are you sending troops with him, or is this going to be just them?
Just them. I think part of a kind of a tactical, not trying to draw too much attention.
Okay. So is your plan for them to go in and essentially be hidden and wait for you, or is your plan for them to actually try to take the portal?
Based on the information we got before, like how many people were stationed at the portal, did we figure that out?
Yeah, you had kind of done some scouting using the chalice and just kind of some spies and things. There was a pretty good size amount of troops stationed there, which you're hoping, would be pulled away, and multiple dragons kind of are constantly flying back and forth to there. You would guess that even if the troops are pulled away, there will still be some guards left, maybe some dragons.
Okay. Based on my testing before with opening a portal, how many do I think I could reasonably send through if I were to send some actual just regular troops with them?
I don't think that you would have any problem with the size of the portal. It's more about keeping it open and not tearing, a hole in Brilliant. Once you actually open the portal, it's disturbingly easy. So,
got it.
You could send a large amount of people through if you wanted to.
Okay. Let's send like 30 troops with them, including a couple casters, and then that group of dragon with Ant. I think that's what we go with.
Okay. All right. When are you sending them? Are you waiting until the armies engage with one another right before that? Well before?
I think what we do, so we would march out, make sure that army is visible, and wait up until the time where I feel like Heartfang, they're all coming out, they're being called because they're seeing this coming to take them out, and then I would send them at that point right before we're about to engage.
Okay. Alright, sounds good. Any other prep you need to do? I know we kind of went through some prep stuff last time. You're probably ready to go, but any last things you want to do?
Gosh, I think we're ready to go. I mean, just the structure of the army, probably with the training, we would probably split up some of the more highly trained people amongst the different units. Kind of structurally, I'm thinking maybe 5 units with a mix of casters, do a group of dragon with each of those, so kind of have them be kind of in the corners, front and back, so there'd be 4 dragons kind of surrounding the unit, have casters, some of them up front, keep some of the range type people a little bit behind, so kind of typical structure, so kind of a half moon shape of these 5 kind of marching together.
Okay. Sounds good.
I think that's it.
All right. So you set off. It's probably going to take an army marching, unless you want to go really quickly. It's probably going to take a day and a half or so to get to Beacon of Hope, although you would assume that at some point Heartfang's troops will meet you.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to try to go quickly. We're going to need every bit of strength we have in this potential fight.
Okay. All right. Well, you spend about a little over a day. You travel and then camp, and then probably by mid-morning the next day, you begin to kind of get into this section where it's almost like a large valley that's kind of roughly circle shaped, so almost like a bowl with trees kind of scattered around the outsides, but the actual valley itself is just grass. There's a small stream kind of running through the middle of it, and you can see dragons, almost like a cloud of dragons flying over the other side of this valley. You can see troops on the other side in the trees. You can see them starting to assemble, and just from your vantage point, it looks like, from what you can see, although they're kind of in the trees, but with the division of the dragons and things, you can see it looks like Heartfang has split his army into essentially 3 units, 2 of which are just kind of up front, and then he has 1 unit that's kind of held back. And it's up to you if you spend time trying to scout out or look at things. but that's about the information you can get just from kind of a quick visual look.
Okay, I think I actually want to, at this point, they know we're coming. I think I want to obstruct things a little bit for them. So I want to take some time with the chalice. I want to try to create fog, heavy, dense fog in the valley to obstruct between us and them.
Okay. How high do you want this fog cloud to go? I mean, they are dragons, so they're flying. It's a cloud of fog in a valley isn't going to do a whole lot to obstruct unless you march down into it.
Well, I don't want to be in it because then we can't see them if they were to try to do a surprise attack. So I would try to have it stretch pretty high. So,
okay.
There's just kind of Pythagorean theorem here. Make sure it's tall enough or kind of the typical range they're flying at. If they're looking down at an angle towards us, then hopefully we'll be obstructed. So I try to do pretty tall tower of fog.
All right. Yeah, you spend some time, and this fog forms, and you effectively, lose your sight of them and feel that they have also lost their view of you.
Okay.
What are you doing?
Okay. This is happening quick. Okay, so I think I'd want to pretty quickly. We need to move and make this happen. So I'm hoping the fact that they've seen us, that we're here. We'll wait maybe 20 minutes, and then I'll gather the portal strike force and make sure everyone's good with the plan, what they're doing, that I'm going to try to meet up with them, hopefully after we're successful here, and I will work on opening the portal, and then once they're through, I'll go out to lead the army.
All right. Well, I am going to need a roll for opening the portal.
Oh, that's scary.
Because like I said, you could just straight rip a hole in a million.
Okay. I get it. And I'm able to do this as a dragon, correct?
Yeah, I would assume that, at this point, you're probably mostly staying in your dragon form just to be visible.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so this would be a will roll. Okay. Not great. That is a 0.
Okay. All right. So you begin to open this portal, and you feel like, almost like you're, mentally using your claws to just sink into the world around you and start to tear. And this portal begins to open, and for a moment, you almost feel your grasp start to slip on it, and it just starts to open wider and wider. You focus and you kind of collect yourself, and you see Amp, who's standing there kind of looking alarmed, puts out his hands, and he's channeling some magic into this portal as well, and it starts to collect back and calm down a little bit, and you feel like you've got a decent enough hold on it.
Yeah, that was scary.
Anything lower than a 0, and it would have.
Oh my gosh!
Torn.
I rolled pretty bad. I mean, that's three negatives there.
You did.
Yikes. Okay. I'll send them off through there.
All right. Yeah, they go through, and I assume you close it.
Yeah, I close it behind them.
Okay. It's a lot more difficult to close it than it was to open it. It takes a lot more magical power to actually close this portal, and even after you close it, it just feels thin right there, which is not a good sign.
No.
All right, but you've sent them. Whew. What's next?
Okay. Next up, I feel like I need to head out to the front, make sure everyone's ready to go, and say some words to the troops.
All right. So you fly out to the front of your units. You've kind of structured them in probably not quite a full semicircle, but you've got this arc structure to your units. So you fly into the kind of center of it, turn around, and
Okay. So yeah, I've got like the fog at my back and I'm in dragon form, so I kind of walk around just a little bit at first and just kind of taking in, viewing the armies here. And I look over to them and I yell out, "Sons and daughters of Rillian, I am Verboden. I am not the Mighty One, nor your savior or your god." Kind of pause and I kind of stare back through the fog in the direction of where Heartfang would be. "Most of you have known only oppression at the likes of the rulers of this realm. They carry different names, take forms of many kinds. They all have one thing in common: fear. They are afraid of a life without power, a life without placing all the rest beneath them. But what they are most afraid of is you. Afraid of what you can do if you just decide to make a choice. Today, we have made that choice. Dragons, dragonkin, and all others here. Today we are all kin, and we bring Heartfang's fear with us into battle. So let's go deliver it. The history books may forsake our names, but they will not forsake our legacy." And then I will turn around and I'm going to start using the chalice to create just like the nastiest straight line winds that would come from our backs towards Heartfang, blowing the fog out away, clearing it. The intent of this wind to basically like act as a wind wall over them where hopefully these dragons cannot fly up through it. It's just going to be that powerful. That's what I want to do.
So as you finish your speech, your army is cheering and yelling, and in response to that, you hear roars from the other army. These dragons are letting loose their own roars, and there's kind of a back and forth there for a moment. So as these two armies are kind of dueling back and forth for ferocity and volume, you hear Heartfang roar, and everything kind of just quiets to his roar as you can feel it in your chest. You can feel it in the vibrations of the ground. It's magnitudes louder than anything else around.
That's frightening.
And so you turn and you begin channeling and creating this wind. As you're kind of summoning it up, the fog erupts in flame, and this fog wall starts to burn away and turn into this just towering sheet of flame. You can tell that Heartfang is acting, but then your wind starts to really pick up intensity, and these flames start to be pushed back toward his own army, and they almost instantly shut off. So these winds are kind of pounding forward, and your own army start to kind of stumble to keep their feet as these winds are picking up in intensity. Yeah, you've got this gale force of wind that is at your backs, blowing towards the other army. You can see these dragons that are flying start to kind of get buffeted, pushed back, and they all start to land.
Okay, nice. So I wanted the superior air force, so that was the plan.
As all of the other dragons start to land, you hear the beats of Heartfang's wings as he lifts off and ascends into the air, and then just sits there, pounding his wings against this wind. It's not pushing him back at all, and he's just almost like daring you, using the brute force of his strength to keep himself aloft in this wind. He doesn't do anything. He's just kind of keeping himself there.
Okay. Well, I will send a command to send a volley of arrows and projectiles at them, because my hope is here too that we are out of their range, and with this wind, I hope it hit them, and then they hopefully cannot hit us to try to whittle them down.
Yeah, okay. So do you have, how do you have your archers split up?
So I pretty much have, if we have the right amount of forces, pretty even amongst these. Actually, they would be in those middle 3 units.
Okay.
For the back of those, and not the wings. The wings, hopefully, the intent would be to come around the sides and meet up. And their intent is to go for Heartfang and his last unit there. And I'm going to be leading the push, and I'm going to try to wedge myself and just fight through into Heartfang.
Okay, so your kind of overall battle strategy is to have your middle 3 units interact with, fight his 2 units that are up front. Your wings come around, fight his reserve unit, and then you're going to fight right down the middle, pull your way through his forces to fight him.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the plan.
All right. So yeah, your archers let loose a volley of arrows, and we had talked about this off the recording, but you're mostly sticking with actual missile weapons, not firearms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the...
Correct.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, these arrows, the first volley almost goes too far because they're struggling to account for this wind. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it definitely hits some of them, but it also just sails. Mm-hmm. These arrows sail with the wind, and you can see that Heartfang is almost like just contemptuously breathing fire in front of him, and any arrow that comes at him is just, turned to ash that's raining down below him. Mm-hmm. He isn't hit by any of these arrows.
Okay.
But they do start to rain down into the enemy units, and another volley. They just keep going, and they're getting more and more accurate. And as the enemy starts to try to fire some arrows, and they're just almost like blowing back into their faces. So they stop doing that, and they begin to march forward.
Okay, so send out the command to move in and engage.
All right. Well, I think what we should do here is kind of do a little bit of mass combat rules.
Okay.
So the 2 units, now that they're marching down into the battlefield, you can see that these 2 units, one of them is led by Eladia, and the other one is led by Eldarin.
Okay.
So I guess let's go ahead and get some rolls to see kind of how these different units start to interact with each other.
Okay.
So these 2 units are marching as quickly as possible down into this valley to the stream and kind of across. How quickly are you trying to meet them in the middle? Are you trying to march as quickly as them? What's the plan of, do you want them to be marching uphill at you, or do you want to meet them in the middle?
I am going to wait until they get to that creek and let them, or stream, and let them try to cross that to where they're coming up at us.
Okay.
We'll wait till we hopefully take some of this force out before we continue moving forward.
All right. They cross the stream. There doesn't seem to be any real issues. In fact, as soon as they reach the stream, Eladia kind of steps onto it and breathes on it, and the entire stream for a huge distance in either direction is like flash frozen.
Okay.
And so they're just marching across it, no problems. And then they start marching up the hill towards you.
Okay.
At this point, are you going to, is the plan to, just have these 3 units kind of attack? Are you going to be in a defensive posture, make them fully come to you, or are you going to charge at them?
How about this? She turned this river to ice, or the stream to ice.
Yeah.
what if I cut the wind and try to extend this ice as an ice wall, cutting off as like half their force makes it through.
All right. It's definitely going to take more than just a normal usage of magic, because there's not enough water in this stream to create this massive ice wall. But you do have the chalice. Creation is its thing. Creating water is not incredibly difficult.
Okay.
Yeah, I will have you go ahead and make a roll, just because this is a kind of in the heat of the moment kind of a deal.
Yeah.
So I think in this moment, both Eladia and Eldarin would be opposing you.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have Eladia probably roll against you with kind of an assist from Eldarin.
Okay. So I'm basically trying to create an advantage here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, yeah, creating an aspect essentially of ice wall that would be a barrier. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's much better. That's a 5.
Okay. She got a 7.
I don't think a reroll is likely going to get me there. And me just adding a +2 is not going to succeed, right? She would beat it.
I think if you were at the same number, you could probably succeed. Either way, I'd say you could probably succeed with a cost if you wanted.
Yeah, let's do that. So I'll let me spend a fate point and invoke Master of the Chalice for sensing them fighting this back, and then do that.
Okay. I'm going to say the cost here is going to be that you're going to have to actively focus on this.
And I can't be involved in a fight.
You could probably still be physically fighting, but you're not going to be able to, like, if at any moment you decide you want to bring the wind back or you decide to do something else magical, this ice wall is probably going to collapse.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which could be a good thing if it collapses on them, or it could be a bad thing if it collapses on you.
Sure.
So yeah, you build this ice wall, and it kind of cuts off the, between their 2 units and Heartfang's unit.
Okay.
They are rushing up this hill at you.
Okay. Well, as soon as they're close enough, I'm going to shoot some flame down at them.
Okay. Yeah, so you shoot flame, and Eladia is like rushing right at you, and she matches it with ice breath, and the 2 hit each other and explode, and not a whole lot there. But so let's go ahead and get some rolls for this initial combat here. I'm going to go ahead and roll for both of their units. And
okay.
Probably roll for all 3 of your units. We didn't really stat out your units, but I would say at this point you'd probably be a +3 for these specific units, because they have some numerical superiority and some extra kind of magical strength. But these enemy units are chock full of dragons, which are obviously quite a bit larger than any dragonkin, even on the ground, are going to be quite deadly.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to roll once for each one and +3.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let's just kind of, I'm going to roll twice, you're going to roll 3 times, and then we'll compare the totals.
Okay. Alright, I got 2, 4, and 5.
So an 11?
Yes.
Okay. They got a 10. So as these 2 armies hit each other, essentially, there's fighting happening. You can see, a dragon tear into some of your units, and almost immediately several of the spellcasters in that unit throw out their hands, and this dragon gets almost smashed down into the ground and can pull out axes and are just ripping apart this dragon right at the neck, and they behead it.
Okay.
The other side, there's a group of elves who come rushing into front lines of one of your units, and they're throwing out these almost like blades of, using spells, these like rolling bladed, almost like a boulder rolling in front of them that's just made of whirling blades, and they're kind of tear into the front lines of this unit. But one of the dragons kind of leaps on them from the corner and distracts them enough that he can rally and destroy these elves. And it's just kind of a back and forth of carnage and people dying. Jump into kind of a more personal fight. Eladia is going to immediately rush right at you.
Okay.
And your flame and her ice breath kind of interact and explode, and there's probably kind of a cloud of fog in between the two of you, and she's going to leap through it at you.
Okay.
So she's gonna make an attack directly at you, just claws trying to tear you apart.
Okay.
I've rolled this exact same roll every single roll so far of getting 1 plus and 1 minus.
That's okay. I'll take that.
All right. That is a 6.
I rolled a 7.
All right. So she tries to jump at you, and feel free to describe what you do to avoid that.
Yeah, I just kind of just batted her and just push her down to the side. She's coming in.
All right. You're up.
All right. So I am going to, after having batted down at her, I'm going to go at her and try to bite her.
Okay. Hey, a different roll. It's worse.
I rolled a 6.
All right. That's a 4.
Okay.
All right. What do you do?
Yeah, I bat her down and I lean in and bite into her wing.
Okay. All right. Pulling back out. We're going to kind of do this round by round. These armies are still going at it. So let's do these rolls again.
I'm in trouble. I rolled the exact same thing. So 11.
Okay. They rolled a 17.
Okay.
8 and a 9. So
that's bad.
Yeah. So as you are directly...
Quick question, though. So with me doing the ice wall thing, did you already account for that in what I was doing here with the rolls?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, as far as it's blocking what's happening. So Heartfang can't really see what's happening, and his units can't come and engage.
So I only got the 2 rolling against me versus 3, and
Correct.
potentially him involved. Okay.
Yep.
All right, that works.
Which I assume your wings are kind of actively marching probably down to the ice wall and potentially trying to find a way around it.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. So these, as you are directly engaging with Eladia, you're ripping into her wing, you're kind of on top of her, definitely about to deal some major damage, but you feel the tide start to turn a little bit against you. You can feel the masses of their troops starting to push past you, and you can hear kind of screams and roars, and all this combat is happening around you, and it definitely feels like things are starting to turn the wrong way.
Okay, that's not good.
So jumping back into you and Eladia, she's going to try to throw you off, and as she's kind of pushing you, she's gonna try to shoot both of her wings out and try to use the lift of not just her muscles but also her wings to almost flip you over and get on top.
Okay. You got a 4?
It's a 7.
Ooh. I think I'd like to try to spend a fate point to reroll. Maybe I can utilize it, if not me, then who, just kind of seeing the troops going and oh man, I need to try to intervene here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm gonna reroll. Wow.
That's a lot worse.
That's a lot worse. Oh boy.
This is not going well for you.
It's really not. So that makes it a 1.
Okay. All right. Well, that's 6 points of physical stress to you directly.
Ouch. Ouch. It's not a fate point. And I gotta deal with 6 ticks of physical stress, which is all my boxes.
All right.
Okay. Can you reroll twice? Same defend?
I don't know. You wanna push it and use another fate point?
Oh man. I mean, me losing all my physical stress boxes against a lady is not a good look.
It's not. However, keep in mind, you are leading an army.
True.
You have spellcasters, you have healers.
Oh, true.
This is not necessarily, a
Solo
fight where
yeah.
you can't run back to the back lines.
Okay.
Although, currently your army is on its heels, so...
Yeah, hopefully the next round's better. Okay, so that is all of my physical stress boxes.
Okay. Well, you're up.
Okay.
So she flings you off of her and her kind of uses her claws to rake along your side as she flings you a pretty good ways away. She probably was a little overzealous with that. She wasn't able to actually get on top of you. She almost flung you away, and you're up.
Okay. I think in this moment I'm going to not attack her, so she kind of puts some distance between us. I want to go help the troops that looks like they're kind of getting pushed back.
Okay. Let's go ahead and just get a roll for you coming into the fight here.
Okay.
Not necessarily rolling against anything, any specific enemy, but just to see how successful you are as you tear into these enemies.
Okay, so it's just a fight roll.
Up to you, however you would come in and attack.
Yeah, I'm just gonna come in just like a wrecking ball and just going nuts with my mass and claws and biting and just go nuts.
Okay.
So we'll fight. It's a 7 to 8.
Okay. Yeah, you turn and one of your 3 units, the one in the center, they have kind of been pushed back several steps, which is not a good thing because that, could completely destroy your army's structure, and you pounce into it. You rip through groups of these elven warriors and even one of these dragons. You just land on top of it, feel like you've almost like broken its spine, and you turn the tide there, in that center portion a little bit. The enemy recoil back from you and your troops come back together. So let's go ahead and do the troop rolls here again.
Okay. I think it's better rolls. These dice are not doing well for me tonight.
Okay. They got an 8.
Okay.
So, so you jumping into the middle of this fight rallies your troops back, and they're already extremely committed to this cause. I mean, they've spent their entire lives hoping for something that turned out to be a sham, and now they are fully committed to taking their, control of their own destiny, these things that you said, and they pull themselves back together and actually start to push down into this valley, shoving these enemy troops back, just kind of slaughtering their way through them. You can see Eladia she was in the center of it, she starts to get overwhelmed and she starts to run backwards. So yeah, anything you want to do specifically?
I don't think so. I just am going to try to fight with them for a bit, help this push.
Okay. Then let's just do some army combat rolls again.
Okay.
I would say add another +1 to each one of these 3 units because they've started to gain some momentum and their numerical superiority is starting to overwhelm these other 2 units.
Okay. So 14.
Okay, got a 6. So
Okay.
with your help and just with the momentum that has started to pick up, your army starts to roll forward down the hill, just slaughtering these enemy as they go. You can see corpses of dragons, just people are climbing over dragons and around dragons as they're leaving these dead dragons in their wake. These strange elves left on the ground, and both Eladia and Eldarin's units are being just shoved back towards this ice wall. And Eldarin, actually, you see him just take off. He runs. He's flies off.
Guy's like a cockroach, man. He just can't die.
Yeah, he's a coward.
Okay.
Not the courageous.
No, not the courageous. We figured that out before.
So as these units are being pushed back, you kind of hear as Heartfang starts to fly forward. And this ice wall is there in front of him. You're kind of actively holding it in your mind. Probably for a moment you would expect him to try to burn it down or something. But instead, he flies about a quarter of the way over this valley, and he starts to almost like rumble. This like rumbling roar starts to build out of his chest, and the ground starts to shake. You suddenly see cracks begin to open in the ground, and then there's just this massive explosion in the center of this valley as an active volcano opens in the center of this valley.
Okay.
Lava begins flying up, burning ash, falling down, and he flies down and lands in the center of it, and you can see him using both his claws and magic. He begins to start to rip up pieces of the earth, and it's almost like he's preparing to throw these burning comets of of earth at your army.
Okay.
Suffice it to say, the ice wall is still there if you're actively holding it, but all around it and beneath it is just lava and an extremely intense explosion that's happening here.
Okay, I think I will try to hold that for the time being and then try to ring out a command of everyone basically get to the sides, try to get around. We're going to stop pushing through the middle, get to the sides, follow the wings is going to be the commands.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are you going to essentially leave what remains of Eladia and Eldarin's armies there? Or are you going to keep fighting them and try to pull other people back?
I mean, they've got a volcano behind them too, so
correct.
They're not in a great spot. Heartfang's obviously doesn't care about his armies. He's just trying to win. He's a little bit overconfident. So I think we're gonna cover our retreat, and then me personally, seeing how I've been pretty messed up physically, I think I'm gonna fall back into some reserves that we have set up and see if there's maybe a healer there to help with helping me out of it.
Okay. Yeah, so you give the orders, your units start to kind of move back as quickly as they can while still protecting themselves. Eladia gathers the remains of these two units together into essentially under her command.
Okay.
And you can see her almost flying in rapid circles around them, trying to use ice to firm up the ground underneath them so that what remains of her army doesn't just sink into lava.
Okay.
So they're pretty contained and focused on keeping themselves alive. So
Okay.
your armies pull back and start to move around. But as they're doing that, Heartfang starts to throw these burning, massive chunks of the earth at them, and it's slamming into these units and causing some pretty massive destruction. You pull back, find some healers. They're gonna start healing you. It might take a little bit of time, or you can drop your ice wall and use your chalice to help.
I think I will drop the ice wall, because I feel like that's not really going to help right now. We've also got some catapults set up in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we've brought out Ecton helping with the fight, for our magic users. But I think I want to fling a few at Heartfang's volcano that he's in.
All right. Yeah, so you give those orders, you start to be healed, and your catapults start to fling barrels of Ecton at Heartfang. And these, at first one of them starts to fly towards him, and he just kind of contemptuously shoots a jet of flame at it. And this explosion is massive, and he takes a little more notice of them as you do that. And he's focused a little more on picking these things off so that they don't hit him.
Okay.
Go ahead and go for this. Okay. At least to this point, he's managed to knock each one out of the air well enough that it hasn't actually impacted him, but it has kept him busy.
Yep.
And your armies start to move around towards his unit that is still up at the back of the back of the valley, out of his volcano.
Okay.
You get healed up. What's your next move?
How healed am I?
You
So
can-
use the chalice.
You can clear all those boxes.
Alright, I gotta get back in this fight. I feel like my forces are doing okay. We've got Heartfang preoccupied a little bit. Let me try to lead just a little ragtag group of reserves that we have and focus on Eladia and her group to try to just clear them out of the picture.
Okay. They are currently in the center, they were right back up against this ice wall. So there is lava all around them, ash falling all around them. They're standing on this essentially platform of ice that Eladia is actively continuing to create so that they don't fall into this lava.
Oh, then I don't need to take a group with me. I'm just going to fly out there. I'm going to try to melt the ice they're standing on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You're just gonna go out and
I'm going to go fly.
use your flame breath, or what?
Yeah,
what's the plan?
that's the plan. I'm going to go shoot some flame at the ice.
All right.
See if I can do enough.
All right. They are going to. There's a couple of dragons that are going to come out and try to meet you.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and we'll just do a roll here. Let's go ahead and just get whatever you'd want to use. Physique, athletics, something like that to try to overwhelm these dragons quickly enough that you can get past them and to Eladia.
Yeah, I'll use physique. I'm just trying to barrel my way through there.
Okay.
That's a 6 total.
All right, they got a 4.
Okay.
They rise up to meet you, and you just slam your way right through the two of them, knocking both of them off course. And yeah, let's go ahead and fire your
Okay.
breath of fire at them.
It's a 4 total.
All right. You shoot your fire at this ice, and it starts to melt as your fire hits it in kind of a arc, and Eladia immediately meets it with ice, and it's melting. She's also actively opposing it, so it's probably going to take you a little bit of time if you're just fire breath against
Sure.
ice breath, and these dragons are coming around and are about to pounce on you.
So I'm going to keep flying like I'm shooting the flame into it, but I'm going to keep kind of flying on the path towards Eladia as she's doing this. And I'm going to try to barrel into her, hopefully knock her back off this ice platform.
Okay, I like it.
That's a 6.
She got a 5.
Okay.
All right, when you say knock her off the ice platform, be a little more specific. What are you trying to do here?
Just use my momentum of flight of just slamming into her full body to have her slide back as far as she can, hopefully off of it.
Okay. All right, so you slam basically through the center of her forces, slam into her, and shove her back. Her claws are kind of scraping on this ice as you use the momentum that you've built up and just fling her off of this plug of ice that she's been creating, which immediately starts to melt as you knock her back into this like burning lava and rock, and the two of you land on, probably not in lava, but on this rock that has streams of lava erupting around it.
Okay.
She's going to take a turn, and she's going to try to essentially do what she did the last time. She's going to try to fling you off of her and into the lava.
Okay.
So it's 5.
Ooh, it's only 4.
Alright, so she flings you off, and you probably, kind of are trying to keep yourself out of the lava, and you do take 1 point of physical stress, but you don't actually fall off of this platform into the lava. You manage to keep your feet, so you're up.
Okay. I think I've got her preoccupied, hopefully to melt this ice too, so I'm going to claw my way back up and try to go and fight with my talons at her again.
Okay.
Oh, great. It's only 4 total.
She also got a 4.
Okay. Alright.
Right. You slam into her, and she rises up to meet you, and she's going to claw back at you. It's this kind of like this Simba and Scar moment of the two of you batting at each other with the fire around you.
Okay. That's a good one.
She got a 5.
I got a 7.
All right. So yeah, she's going to try to, she rises up to meet you and knocks away your claws, and then she tries to bring her legs around and tries to kind of rip at your lower belly, but yeah, you knock that away. You're up.
Okay, I'm going to try to bite at her neck again.
Okay.
Will you believe this? This is the second time I've rolled all negatives tonight. That is... Oh, man. I think I'm gonna spend my last fate point here for this.
Man, spending all your fate
I know,
points. You haven't
but
even fought Heartfang
I
yet.
know. But I have an army. I'm just trying to get some momentum here. So I'm gonna reroll. I'm gonna I'm a dragon. Is that gonna work for you? I'm a dragon.
You are a dragon.
I am a dragon.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna reroll. So that was 6 total.
All right, she got a 4.
Okay.
All right. So you bite at her neck and feel like you've got a pretty good hold on her. She's actually going to try to turn her head just kind of far enough that she can breathe ice at you to try to knock you away.
Okay.
So with this, you can defend with will the chalice if you want, or I don't know if that's better for you than defending with just physique or something.
Okay.
That is not a good roll. It's a 2.
So then I will then use the chalice. That makes
Okay.
sense. So still succeeds, just 1 less.
All right. Yeah. So you just absorb that dragon's breath into the chalice, and she growls in frustration, and you're up.
Okay.
Your jaws are around her neck.
I will bite harder.
Okay. Ooh, that is a good roll.
This is not a good roll. It's only 4 total.
All right, she got a 7.
Okay.
So she's going to succeed with style.
Okay.
You try to bite down harder, and as you reflexively release a little bit to then clamp down harder, she actually just jerks herself out of your mouth, leaving scales behind. And, your head slams down into the ground. And she's going to turn, and she's actually going to essentially just almost like a elbow slam, but as a dragon. She's going to leap into the air and try to bring down kind of a hooked claw on her front leg into your back.
Okay.
That's 4.
I rolled a 6.
Okay. So she comes down with this claw, and it just scrapes off of your scales, and she slams her elbow into the ground, and you're up.
Okay. I'm gonna try to kind of swipe at her, with that claw hitting the ground. I'm gonna try to swipe at her side.
Okay.
Rolled so many negative dice tonight.
You might need to change out your dice here.
7 total.
Okay. That's enough.
Okay.
How do you end Eladia?
Okay, so she's coming down with like her front arm with a claw down there, kind of sticks leave her exposed for a minute, and I just rake at her side and cut in deep, kind of like totally rip open the side of her abdomen.
Okay. Yeah, you rip through her and you can feel your claws hitting. They easily pierce through the scales and you're just ripping through meat and organs. And she screams out and just falls limp. You can see she's still conscious, but just this amount of damage that you just did to her, clearly she's going to die within the next few minutes, just as soon as she bleeds out.
Okay.
And yeah, she's just laying there, so what's your next move?
Okay, there were those other dragons that had tried to attack, so I'm going to try to get the lay of the land again and see what's going on around me.
Okay, that ice platform that she had built pretty quickly melted. These dragons actually came down and picked up as many of those troops as they could and parted around you and flew back to rejoin with Heartfang's.
Okay, then I will head to one of the flanks to try to join up with, hopefully meeting up with the unit with Heartfang.
Alright, so you go to rejoin one of those flanking units which have come around this, kind of around this valley and start to engage with Heartfang's reserve unit. Heartfang himself is still in the center with this volcano around him, but you're in a place where, as you're kind of flying to rejoin, you can see the lay of this battlefield. Unless something crazy happens, unless Heartfang himself does something crazy, you've probably won this fight. You have 5 units of your army, and he only has a third of his army left. Obviously, you've taken some damage as well. You probably have effectively 3.5, units left, but you've still got the majority of your army, and Heartfang is there in the center of this volcano. We'll end the session there.
Okay.
Somehow, despite your terrible rolls all night, you still managed to kill one of the heirs and destroy most of Heartfang's army.
Yeah, it only took all my fate points,
Yeah.
And vastly superior numbers and some creative use of the chalice, so luckily I had those things. I feel like if I didn't have all that, war would have gone the other way.
Yeah. But you have so far succeeded.
Okay, hopefully we can continue this and deal with Heartfang.
Yeah.
Until next time.